it's time to go over and do the news. So let's get to it. Let's go. It feels like it has been a while since we've done the news, but welcome everyone. My name is Clyde, and this is Clyde Plays News. Today we're going to talk about the latest goings on in World of Warships. We've got some new ships for you today, but before we get to that, we've got a few other things I want to talk with you about. First up is this article, which covers asymmetric battle changes, clan battles, and more, which is coming in patch 12.10. For those keeping score at home, we are presently on 12.8. So this is a patch. A couple of patches away from where we are today. It says here in update 12.10, asymmetric battles are coming back to the game. The latest iteration of this popular battle type will have a different format compared to the previous one. The battles will be fought in a 5v12 format with tier 6 to 10 ships and super ships. That is a big spread. I feel like it was tighter before, wasn't it? 8s, 9s, and 10s? The bots team will not be able to field submarines. Ships on the player team can differ by 1 tier, while ships on the bot team will be up to 2 tiers lower than the ships on the player team. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so they're gonna fit the bots to your team's makeup. I did not know this. That's cool. For example, if a player team is composed of tier 6 and 7 ships, the bots will be tier 4 and 5 ships. Okay. Cool. Well, that's going to let some newer players or however, people who enjoy those lower tiers get into the mix. Asymmetric battles were really popular last time. They were great for farming resources and just grinding ships that maybe you weren't having as much fun playing in random battles. And so I'm sure that people are going to be excited to see these come back. I hope that the new changes will be good. I'm liking the idea that there's no robo subs, but it looks like it doesn't restrict players from playing submarines in that mode. And I think the players who enjoy submarines are going to like that as well. Asymmetric battles will also have the following changes compared to the previous iteration. Divisions of up to 5 players can be formed. Oh, that's cool. 1 aircraft carrier, 2 battleships, 2 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and 1 submarine. So apparently there's some restrictions on what you can take there. Bot ships will now be more likely to focus on the highest HP ships closest to them. So that's interesting. They're going to distribute their damage rather than stacking damage on weaker targets. They're going to put that damage on healthier targets. For whatever motivation that is, maybe to make the battles last a little bit longer and to let people farm it up. Bots will be less effective at dodging torpedoes. I think we'll all be glad about that. And bots are more likely to head towards key areas and attempt to capture or defend them. Now, it did say up here is a 5v12 format, so that division you can form is the entire team. You can take 5 of your friends and go play asym battles in this mode. That's actually really cool. Based on collected player and data and player feedback, we decided to include these changes to improve the gameplay experience for non-battleship classes. Ooh, that's interesting. I like that. It says here the highest HP closest to them, not the highest percentage of your HP. So it says here they wanted to improve the gameplay experience for non-battleship classes. I actually kind of like that. I hadn't really thought about that. When I played asymmetric battles, I largely played either battleships or destroyers because it was always fun to play a destroyer. But I didn't play nearly as many battles as you guys. I'm very curious what y'all think. It says, Jetty here in chat says, previously non-battleships were heavily stressed by bot focus fire. And I can definitely agree to that. When I was in a Kaba or a gunboat destroyer, it was a rough day at times. The combination of ship limitations and bot behavior is about battleships. Joey says, I love the targeting of the highest hit points first. Cruisers sucked a ton that first time because he got targeted so hard. I had several matches that were 4 BBs and 1 cruiser. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll continue to roll along here and see what else is going on. Clan Battles, the 23rd season of Clan Battles. Traitorous will start on November 15th. Battles will be held in a 7v7 format with tier 10 ships. Restrictions will be cruisers, destroyers, and battleships only, and you will be able to take no more than 1 battleship per team. Traitorous, that is a very weird word, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it, is a genus of newts, according to Bowmaster and his rapid Googling skills. 7v7, 1 battleship, cruisers, battleships, and destroyers. This seems to be the version of like what you're allowed to take that the community is most accepting of, because we see Wargaming do it time and again, and they talk a lot about how, well, whenever we restrict it or change it and make it different, people don't like it. So that's what they're starting with. It looks like there are going to be additional restrictions because they say here, we will share more details about the new season and some additional restrictions at a later date. It says here, this is kind of a quiet thing that's in here, and it doesn't have a lot of pomp and circumstance. It doesn't have a picture, but I think this is really interesting. Soviet container contents have been updated. And then you open this up and it says, here's what's in here. 3% chance to receive one of the following ships: Ochakov, Pyotr Bagration, Mikoyan, Navarin. Navarin is a new boat. That boat is not out yet. And so when we see them saying, oh, don't mind us, we're just going to quietly update the Soviet containers and the contents that come in there. This is getting ready for a special release for the Navarin, right? This is going to be part of a promotion when that ship comes out for whatever reason. It also says here there's a 4% chance to receive one of these following camouflages, and they're calling these the Soviet camouflage for Ochakov, for Pyotr Bagration, the Soviet camo for Talon, Soviet camo for Petropavlovsk and for Riga. I think these are those really, really kind of garish turbo-Soviet, very like Slava, Russia kind of camos that they have for these Soviet ships. And so if I can confirm that, I'll put a picture up here when this is on YouTube later. But so it looks like there's going to be a possibility of getting that boat out of a container in the future. I believe this is a tier 9 battleship, if I'm remembering my tier correctly. I'm about 90% sure on that. It does say here, if you have all of the ships and camouflages that can be obtained from the container, you will instead receive 100,000 free XP. There will be another way of distributing Navarin besides this container. More information will be available at a later date. So that's good news for people who are like not a big fan of rando box ships, right? Right now we're in the middle of the shill release. It's largely based on random boxes and or completing a sequential bundle that's quite expensive. It's about $96 US. We made a whole video about it. You can check out the shill video elsewhere on my YouTube channel, like I said, so check that out at any time. And then down here, King of the Sea finalist achievement, some flags, some patches, and then they've got this new camouflage. This is the King of the Sea interstellar permanent camouflage for the Vermont, which has been added. They announced this on a recent stream over on the official World Warships channel, and I think it looks okay. I don't know if it's like quite so flashy or dazzly or exciting as some of the other things that we've seen for King of the Sea permanent camos, but I guess we'll see, you know, what's coming on with the upcoming event. Now, going back to our top story, we are going to be talking about new ships, something that everyone is often interested in, but not everyone is interested in every ship. The first ship on our list is the U.S. aircraft carrier Independence. This is for that new line of aircraft carriers. This, you can call it a carrier split if you want. That is coming out, where the carriers are going to have basically a couple of tactical squadrons and a normal squadron. Now remember, tactical squadrons are those squadrons where you basically have a timer on when you can launch planes, and then you can launch planes again. You don't regenerate planes, you don't have a base number of airplanes on the aircraft carrier. It's just a tactical squadron like we have on the hybrid ships, basically. It says here that the Independence is a fast light carrier built on the hull of a Cleveland class cruiser. 9 carriers of this class were entered service in 1943, taking an active part in all U.S. Navy operations in the Pacific during the last 2 years of the Second World War. Independence will join the Yorktown and Essex as part of the upcoming U.S. aircraft carrier tech line. The next cruiser, and I'll try a pronunciation of Tianjin. Tianjin is armed with 9 220mm main battery guns. They have good ballistics accuracy and shell penetration, but deal a low damage per minute. The ship has good armor and a large HP pool, but very low, well, it doesn't say very, but I'm going to say very low maneuverability. Hey, thanks for the follows, RageDX and WNSN217. Glad to have you guys among us. Consumables are represented by a fast damage control team. That's the one that comes off cooldown in like 30-ish seconds, but it's limited. You only get a certain number of uses. A repair party, and a choice between a fighter and a spotter aircraft in the same slot. So you can't have the fighter and the spotter, but you can have whichever one you want. The one you want is probably the spotter. Good positioning is essential for Tianjin to unlock her full potential, since the maneuverability of the ship is lacking. It might not be so easy to escape unfavorable positions, and that's pretty common for a lot of Soviet cruisers. So that is what it is all about. Hey, what's up, RMF? When we look at our next ship here, this is the American battleship Rhode Island Tier 10. This is a Tier 10 battleship called the Rhode Island. She has a lot of small guns, 356 millimeter guns, 12 of them to be exact. This was the ship that got me to go and look at the blog. I was not able to watch the official stream when they were announcing all of this, and my Discord, the Clyde Plays Discord, link in description, blew up, and everybody was talking about a Tier 10 Florida, and I thought, oh, I could be interested in this. I like the Florida at Tier 7, and the Rhode Island is kind of another entry into that lots of guns, smaller caliber entry list, or list of battleships, basically another entry in that list that we've been seeing come out lately. We've got Mecklenburg for Germany, we've got Marlborough. This one appears to be, and honestly, you can even look at other battleships elsewhere in the American line. The Florida is one, the California is one, has a lot of 356 millimeter guns. The Arizona has a lot of 356 millimeter guns. So there's a lot of this like lots of guns, smaller caliber concept that's out there at various tiers. And Rhode Island is the latest entry into that list of battleships. It says here that it is a battleship based on one of the variants of the 1938 battleship design, but with an alternative set of main battery weaponry. The ship's main armament consists of 356 millimeter guns, originally planned for development in 1937 for the North Carolina class battleships. The ship is named after the state of Rhode Island, one of the first U.S. states. It's a very, very little one. And inherits the name from an old pre-dreadnought battleship that was scrapped in 1923. Rhode Island is armed with 12 356 millimeter main battery guns, a rather low caliber for her tier, that have decent accuracy thanks to improved dispersion, and AP shells with improved ricochet angles. That really speaks to me. The ship, I like AP shells with improved Rico angles. The ship is also armed with a large number of relatively fast-firing secondary guns, but has overall low survivability for its class and tier. However, the consumables are the strong suit of the ship. She has an enhanced repair party consumable, okay, with a reduced reload time, okay, a choice between a fighter and a spotter, you probably want the spotter, a surveillance radar, okay, in the same slot, and engine boost on a separate slot. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I almost didn't read this paragraph out loud, and I only skimmed this section earlier. This could be an interesting ship. It could also have really terrible guns, and they could be great. I don't know. We're gonna have to find out. I don't know if this one's gonna be good or not. Let's take a look at what they tell us about the consumables. That part does interest me. It says the damage control party is 20 seconds with a reload time of 80 seconds. That's a pretty standard. Repair party, 40 seconds. So this has the same duration of cooldown that we see on Massachusetts and on Georgia, and I think also on Ohio, which makes those ships so survivable in the face of a lot of danger. 370 hit points per second isn't a ton, but that fast cooldown time is pretty good. Where's my US DACA, says 4V. I know. You know, with all of these, they couldn't dare to give us one more thing. Engine boost, 115% engine boost is pretty dope for a battleship. 180 second duration, that's 3 minutes, and you can extend that with premium modules and other things, captain skills, etc. That's pretty rad. Surveillance radar, duration time is 40 seconds. Detection of ships is 9 kilometers, so it's like the Missouri radar in terms of range. Cooldown is 2 minutes, you get 3 of those. Fighter and spotting, now this says fourth slot. I feel like this is supposed to be 4th slot and these are supposed to be 5th slot, but maybe I misread that. Nope, it says fighter, spotting, or radar. So nope, those are all correctly listed as 4th slot. There you go. Well, I think most people are going to choose that surveillance radar there. Although I actually, I don't know if that's going to be the best pick for you. 9 kilometers is a really dangerous place to be from things that you can radar in a battleship. The spotter may be the best one, kind of depends on the gun's ballistics. And we'll know more about that when the ship gets into testing and we start seeing them talk more about it on the dev blog. That is interesting. I'm tentatively interested in this boat. It's a tier 10, which is cool too. And we'll see how the small gun meta works for Rhode Island. And I'm really kind of curious about how they're going to release these ships. What's the currency going to be for Rhode Island? Is she going to be a steel ship, a research bureau ship, or maybe just a coal ship? Tianjin being a tier 9, we've seen a lot of 9s coming out lately that have been either for money or containers or a combination of both, so we can see how that one would go. And of course we know the Independence is going to be a tech line ship. With all that said, guys, that is our news for the day. We're going to wrap up here. I thank you very much for being a part of Clyde Plays News. If you enjoyed yourself here and you're watching on YouTube, come hang out with us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/ClydePlaysLive. If you're watching with me on Twitch right now, that's fantastic. Why don't you check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Clyde Plays, or you can just go and search for Clyde Plays World of Warships and I will come right up. With all of that said, we're going to get back to our games. Thank you so much for playing the game and watching, and we got a giveaway that we're going to do as soon as we get back. Hang tight. We'll see you then. Bye.
This has been the news on Clyde Plays Live.